I know some of you might be bothered by it, but I'm at this point where at this time in American history, we need our president to have a little a-hole in him. We need it. It's good for us right now. It's healthy. It's what this country desperately needs. And you know what? Donald Trump is bringing it, baby. 6:05. It is good to be here on a Tuesday morning on KCMO 95.7 FM. We are streaming, as always, on the KCMO Talk Radio app. So there have been two instances in the last couple of days where the president has just gone full-blown macho man, rah-rah America, red, white, and blue. Nobody's going to talk down to us. And if anything, we're talking down to you. And in a perfect world, sure, that doesn't happen. But at this point in American history, after the last few years, after what's gone on the world stage over the last several years under, the other guy.
Come on, man.
This is what we need. It is a palate cleanser. Donald Trump is a reminder of American greatness and a don't screw with us attitude. And we're getting it, and we're not just getting it, we're getting it every single day. So yesterday, the president was meeting with the leaders of Australia, and he was signing this critical minerals agreement that's really aimed at countering China, because China's had more or less a monopoly on that industry for a long time. And the president understands that less reliance on China is a good thing for our national security. So he has this meeting yesterday with the Australian Prime Minister, some of its leadership, and this moment happens, and it was great.
Even things the ambassador said about you in the past, the Australian ambassador?
I don't know anything about him. I mean, if he said bad, then maybe he'll like to apologize. I really don't know. Did an ambassador say something bad about him? Don't tell me. I don't. Where is he? Is he still working for you?
Yeah.
You said bad?
Before I took this position, Mr. President.
I don't like you either. I don't, and I probably never will. Go ahead.
He looks at the guy from Australia. He goes, I don't know who the guy is. Who's the guy talking bad about me? And the prime minister next to him points at the guy right across the table from him. And Trump's like, oh, yeah, did you say some bad things about me? Oh, yeah, well, I don't like you either, buddy. That's it. We're done here. I don't like you either. Get out. Now, you can tell with Trump, there is a twinkle in his eye when he's doing all this, right? He's playing it up for the cameras. But he's also sending a clear message. As the guy who, whether you like it or not, has way more of a mandate than he had back in 2016. All right, when you take the swing states, when you win the popular vote, you've got a mandate no matter what your crybaby opponents want to say. And he's got that going right now. He's got that swagger that, admittedly, Donald Trump had for most of his adult life, but really didn't have from 2016 until he left in 2021. Or I guess 2017 until 2021. Because he was trying to figure out the job on the job. That's not the case this time around. You see people that you work with all the time, right? Or in your industry. Maybe you go to an event or, you go to some conference and you see somebody and, boy, they just look like they're drowning. You see them a year or two later. You got to have a big gap between when you see them the first time around. And they've just got that swagger. It's the athlete where the game has slowed down. They say that all the time in sports. Let the game slow down. And that's what we're seeing during this Trump 2.0 term. The game has slowed down. And it's resulting in Trump having the ability to flex American strength on the world stage in a way that is somewhat charming, but also an important reminder, especially coming out of Joe, that, we're back, baby. You saw it yesterday in this Australian Prime Minister meeting that wasn't just about that moment that goes viral and gets all the attention, but obviously is also about national security. And then you had this last week. It was on Friday afternoon. You might have missed it. When the president of the United States dropped an F-bomb.
Offered everything in his country, all the natural resources. He even recorded a message to you in English recently, offering mediation. What should we do in order to stop that?
He has offered everything. He's offered everything. You're right. You know why? Because he doesn't want to around with the United States. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
That was President Trump on Friday afternoon when a journalist asked him about reports that Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro had offered significant concessions to try to reduce bilateral tensions, including offering the U.S. natural resources of the country. And the president says, you know what? He has offered everything because he doesn't want to bleep around with the United States. I love that. I love everything about that. Because really what Donald Trump is the reminder to the world to not F around with us. Because for 4 years, the world got to F around with us. For 4 years, the worst actors on the world stage messed around with us at will. They didn't trust our leadership. They didn't believe we had any leadership. And they basically got away with whatever they wanted because Joe Biden was the substitute teacher. That's who he was. So you had Putin, you had Xi, you had the Middle East, you had all these places with all these bad actors. Hamas basically saying, now's my chance, now's my shot. And it's cost thousands of lives, incredible amounts of pain. And it's a reminder that when America is at its best, when America is not the world police, because I don't think any of us really want that. We don't want our men and women going around the world and policing the world, but it's peace through strength. You don't actually need troops. You don't need bodies on the ground if America is at its best and at its strongest. And that's what you've seen over just these first 9 months from the president of the United States. And you got it yesterday with the Australian leadership. You got it last week when Trump was talking about Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. And I'm here for more of it. Now, maybe there's a time going forward when the president is like, I think I'll back off some of this. Maybe I'll take the foot off the gas pedal a hair. Maybe that comes in 2 or 3 years. But as far as I'm concerned, I don't want it ending anytime soon, John.
Well, you're right about being the police. We're not out there nation building, but we are. MAGA. Make
That's
America
right.
great again. Anything that he's dealing with directly deals with our influences, our what's the word? Priorities. There we go.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about, my man. It's all about getting our priorities in line. And getting the rest of the world in line is a good priority for us to have. There is no doubt about it. It is 6:12 in Kansas City. It's great to have you here on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. We are streaming all morning long on that KCMO Talk Radio app. Did I see this? The Kansas Senate president here, Ty Masterson, expecting the Royal Stadium proposal soon. I've been hearing that for 8 months. I like Ty Masterson, but I've been hearing that for 8 months. Soon. So, what's soon? You got a deadline for the end of the year. I don't want to hear about soon. I'm not interested. Boy, Kansas is really working hard on this, huh? They really think they're going to get the Royals. You better start making some noise there in Overland Park. If you're not careful, whether you like it or not, you're going to have 81 baseball games a year down there at 119th and all. Please be very, very careful on this. No one with the city council is really willing to stand up and say they're for it or against it because they have elections coming up in Overland Park. So this thing, man, it is going to be too late if they pick Overland Park. I'll just say that much.
Might move us from the number 2 safest city spot.
Yeah, that's right. I did see that. Overland Park came in as the second safest city in the country or something, which I'm not buying that either, okay? I don't know who they got running these polls, but I promise you that is not the
credit
case.
scores factored into it, actually. Seriously, I heard the criteria. I'll have to look at that again.
Yeah, I'll take a look at that, too, because that doesn't make any sense to me. I mean,
it's by Wallet Hub or somebody.
Yeah, one of those places.
Mm-hmm.
I got it. So basically what they're saying is if your income is above 6 figures, it's not really a crime. Is that kind of how they calculate this stuff? My goodness. Well, coming up on KCMO, it looks like there is a Taylor Swift problem at Arrowhead Stadium. And maybe this has been happening for a long time, but I just saw a bunch of viral posts about it yesterday after the game on Sunday. And I'm like, yeah, the Chiefs need to do something about this and do it now. We'll talk about it next on KCMO. We got a Taylor Swift problem, and it's apparently a new one as far as I can tell. 6:20, good morning. It is great to be here on KCMO. So I just saw this video on X, and I actually saw it last night, but I just shared it on X. And, I've been to several games, fortunate enough over the last couple of years to go to a bunch of games. But I'd never seen video like this of basically after the game, dozens, if not a couple hundred people standing long after the game is over in the section in front of where Taylor Swift sits, which is on the home side of the stadium, 100 level, and just filming the suite that she spends time in. After the game, Taylor Swift is there on Sunday. Chiefs blow out the Raiders. And Travis Kelce stops by the suite after the game. You got the Kelce family in there. Taylor Swift is in there. And there's probably 100 to 200 people just creepily taking out their phones and filming whatever is going on in that suite, John. I just think it's gross.
Got my camp stool. Got it in through the concession.
Get a life.
Yeah, right.
Get a life.
Right. Now, this is what happens when you don't let people wander around the airport and eat for free up there, right? You got to get a pass. I got nothing to do.
I mean, Mark, you were at the game on Sunday, and it looks like you were probably long gone by then. If you were in this crew, I'd probably fire you this morning, but you were long gone by then, I hope, so you did not see any of this, even though your seats were on that same side of the stadium.
Yeah, we were a little bit further down than that, but yeah, we didn't stay around for it. We didn't even go over there during the game to look for her. We're just, we're respectful.
Well, you're there to watch a football game, Mark, number one. Okay.
That's also true.
My other part of this is you've got at least a couple hundred people. I mean, are they even Chiefs fans, or are they just Swifties pretending to be Chiefs fans, driving up ticket prices for regular folks because they want to linger for, think about this, 30, 60 minutes after a game and just try to take a picture or a video of Taylor Swift? Is that what's going on here?
I mean, that could be part of it, especially with, this could be Kelsey's last year playing, and, Swifties are wanting to come in to see a game.
Still. I had club level seats, and we'd sit there maybe 30 minutes after a game waiting for the parking lot to thin out some, and the ushers would come, hey, let's kind of think about moving it. And like, oh, we will, yep. So I'm a little surprised nobody herded those folks out of there.
Well, that's where I'm at, too. They've got to start, the Chiefs need to start kicking these people out of the game. Okay, you are there to watch a football game. You buy a ticket to watch a football game. You do not get to stand there for up to an hour after the game and treat Taylor Swift like a zoo animal. And this is not about like, oh, you're defending Taylor. No, I'm just ripping on crazy is what this is. Okay?
It's could be anybody, sure.
Yeah, it could be anybody. It's telling people to get a life. Get out of the stadium. First off, let the ushers and the other folks start cleaning up. They're getting in the way of the cleanup after the game, and they're just sitting there with their cameras trying to get a picture of Taylor while they stare through the suite. I mean, there is security. If you haven't seen it, you can kind of notice during the game, there are some security guards who are out there and standing in front of the suite so no one's like heckling her through the windows or things like that. And I have no issue with that. But now my question is, after the game, where's the security? Where are the ushers to clear these people out? Get out of the stadium, go home. You bought a ticket to watch a football game. And if you want to stare at pictures of Taylor Swift, do it on Google Images, all right?
We could get some nice blinds for her suite, I think. Something to roll down
I'd
after
be
the
down.
game.
I'd be down with that.
That's maybe the easiest thing.
That would probably work.
Just pull it down or let it auto drop,
But here's what people would then say. Oh, my gosh, Taylor, what a prima donna. Oh, my gosh. Oh, what is wrong with her? She's not a woman of the people anymore. This is ridiculous.
You're right, goob.
Yeah.
Now beat it.
Yeah, exactly. Go get a life.
I wonder if also the blowout caused some of this. Like, maybe some fans from the 300 level come down there like, oh, we're going to look at Taylor today because it's a blowout.
Yeah.
Maybe.
That's high spirits. Sure.
That's entirely possible that most of these people didn't even have, tickets in that part of the stadium, which is also something the ushers should be looking at then after a game. All right? That should be happening. So I all these photos showed up on Sunday, and I had not seen this come out of a game this season, last season, or 2 years ago when she first started going. So I don't know if this is a new trend or if the Chiefs are getting lax on security, but they got to get these people out. Send them home. Now, speaking of things going on in Jackson County, yesterday, commercial property owners may see a last-minute reduction in their 2025 assessments after some were outraged by steep increases they received this year. Kansas City Star reporting that yesterday the county legislature passed a resolution urging Phil Lavoda, the interim county executive, to take another look at commercial properties that saw their assessed values increase by more than 15% this year and to retroactively assign a revised 2025 value. The Star adds here, some but not all properties with assessed values that went up more than 15% will be reviewed and potentially reduced, even though schools and other taxing bodies have already set their levy rates for 2025. See, this is not hard, Frank White. It's not. This passed 8-0 yesterday. Jalen Anderson was absent from the vote, but this is not difficult to do. This is why Frank White is out of a job. This was bipartisan in nature. This was not meant to be hyper-political. And you had the legislature approving this resolution 8-0 yesterday for Phil Lavoda to use his authority to correct, if necessary, any commercial property assessments increased of more than 15%. Let's go. Mm-hmm. Get it done. Let's move on. Let's fix the problem. And you know what? If there are taxing bodies that are now going to have to, I guess, renegotiate or refigure out their levy, so be it. You can't have people with assessments that are completely out of whack and not accurate because it screws up everybody else's assessments in Jackson County as well.
Yeah, the yeah buts came out, and we already know about the yeah but. Phil is ready to just take it on. We'll just have to take it a step at a time.
Yep. The school boards are going to have to basically refigure out their levies, the cities and everybody else. But you know what? So be it. You have to fix this problem. And it goes to show you as well, this was never as difficult as Frank White made it out to be. It never was. Frank wanted to be difficult. Frank wanted to, I think in large part, stick it to his fellow legislators. And in the end, the only person he really was sticking it to was you. And thankfully, you wised up and you said, I'm done with this guy. And you threw him out of office, 3-4 weeks ago now as the county executive. And now hopefully some relief will be on the way. Coming up, the best thing I heard yesterday on KCMO after the show and after Keatsman's show, something I didn't think I'd actually like, someone I was skeptical to hear. I'll tell you who it was and why coming up next. Yesterday, I was listening to Guy Benson 2 to 5 here on KCMO, and he teased that he was going to have former Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice, of course she worked under George W. Bush, on the show in the 3 p.m. hour. And I admit I rolled my eyes. I was like, all right, great. Condi's going to go in there and start bashing Trump and saying everything Trump's doing is wrong. And then I listened to it, and it was awesome. Condoleezza Rice, and I'm not saying it was awesome because she backed this administration, but I'm saying it was awesome because she had, first off, great foreign policy insights, and she did, to boot, have the administration's back on what they're doing foreign policy-wise. Because she gets it, because she understands. And it started off with her talking about Russia, Ukraine, and I would have guessed that Condi Rice would have been like, we've got to give Ukraine these Tomahawk missiles that Zelensky came to the White House to beg for last week. We got to keep this war going on behalf of Ukraine. We owe it to the Ukrainian people to let them fight back against Putin. And that's not what she said at all. Instead, Condi Rice came out yesterday on Guy Benson's show here on KCMO and was like, Ukraine knows the war has to end.
I think the Ukrainians know that this war needs to end and maybe appreciate even President Trump's efforts to try to do that. I think most Russians know that this war needs to end because the numbers that I've just said, when you do that and you've gone from 7% of Ukrainian territory to 23% of Ukrainian territory in 3 years, this is not a war that should continue. Unfortunately, the one person who is not convinced is Vladimir Putin. And he's the only vote that matters at this point.
So Condi Rice saying that Ukraine knows the war needs to end is not something I would have had on my bingo card. The other thing that was not on my bingo card is when Condi Rice was talking about Putin and said that the critiques of this administration and its handling of Vladimir Putin are largely unfair and in many cases Monday morning quarterbacking.
I actually think he just doesn't believe. It's kind of cognitive dissonance. He cannot believe he can't crush this little bug of a country, Ukraine, that he doesn't even think is a real country. I mean, how could the great Russian Empire not be able to do this? And so there's something going on with him personally. He's personally attached to it. And I think what the administration is trying to figure out is how do you change his calculus? Do you do it with more pressure? Do you do it by giving tomahawks so they can reach deeper into Russia? Do you do it through deeper sanctions? Do you do it? I would suggest that one thing you might do is that $300 billion in Russian frozen assets, go ahead and take it. But getting Putin to accept that this war needs to end is the hardest part of this job, and I think it's why you see the administration searching. I mean, the president's tried a little bit of flattery and having Alaska and everything, and there's too much judgment right now on the outside. They're going toward Putin, or they don't understand. Let's just let this play out for a little bit, because I think they're trying to figure out this piece to the puzzle. How do you convince Putin that this war needs to end?
Condi Rice, former Secretary of State under George W. Bush, saying there's too much judgment on the outside with how this administration is handling Putin, was a breath of fresh air and something I did not expect to hear yesterday on Guy Benson's show. But credit to her, because I agree with her. She's right. The war can't end unless you figure out what makes Putin tick. And that's why Trump and Zelensky can sit there all day on Friday last week and talk about Tomahawk missile this and Tomahawk missile that. But in the end, Trump wants the war to end. And Zelensky, I believe, should be motivated to have the war end. The reality is he can't do anything without us, and Trump knows that. So Trump's just not going to give him whatever he wants. But at the same time, they both need to figure out what the off-ramp is for Putin. And if it's what Condi said there, which I thought was pretty compelling, just historically, he views Ukraine as this bug of a country, and if he can't stomp him out, what's that say about him and, you know, his great country? Put that in air quotes, of course. And the other side of it is, well, does it make him look weak if he comes to some kind of deal with Ukraine and the United States? All those things, they've got to figure out how to make Putin get back to the table and seriously get him to figure out how to do a ceasefire that doesn't make him look bad. And then the last thing that Condi Rice said to me that really, I never would have seen this coming, even more so than Russia-Ukraine, is what she said about China. The Russia-Ukraine war, how it relates to China, and our relationship with China, and how it's really become a negative one over the last 20 years, which dates back to her boss, George W. Bush, of course, who sought a constructive relationship with China, which in hindsight was a global disaster.
Well, they have been bitterly disappointed, I would guess, that it turns out that Donald Trump is not an isolationist. It turns out that he's got a very activist foreign policy. So the first thing you have to think if you're the Chinese is, maybe those ideas that America was withdrawing because of its weakness, that's not going to materialize. By the way, I think the one that probably helped most with that was the bombing of the Iranian nuclear sites, because that's a tremendous show of American military prowess. There's not a country in the world in history that could have pulled that off. And so I think it's probably caused them to pause a little bit. Now, they also are playing their cards very, very aggressively on the trade matters, reminding us that to our own fault, we've become too dependent on the Chinese for rare earth minerals, for the magnets, that we can't do anything without them. And so they're playing, they believe, a strong hand there, but the United States has cards to play too.
Condoleezza Rice admitting that the way we have allowed our economy to work in conjunction to help build up China's as a mistake? Thank you. It's probably a part of George W. Bush's legacy that still does not get enough attention, and it was a terrible part of his legacy. Sadly, there were many terrible parts of George W. Bush's legacy, and it would include allowing China to in part become a global superpower by focusing on economic engagement with the Chinese, building up the manufacturing side of the relationship, and really propping up China to get to where it is today. It was a huge mistake. And while Condoleezza Rice is not going to come out and say, yeah, George W. Bush screwed this one up, or I screwed this one up, she said as much as I ever thought she'd say on that topic right there. I didn't think I'd hear that from Condoleezza Rice when she was on with Guy Benson yesterday. But she admitted that. The relationship has not been beneficial for us and not been beneficial for the world, and we've got to figure out a way out. And that's what yesterday, in part, was all about. The president sat down with the Australian Prime Minister and signed a critical minerals agreement aimed at what? Countering China. So, of course, China continues to loom large on this deal, and Trump's got to figure out how we can get these critical minerals and get them without using the Chinese. So that's why Australia was here yesterday at the White House and meeting with the president, and they were signing this deal. And that's great, all right, because China's got a major supply hold on these rare earth minerals. And if the U.S. and Australia can figure out a way around China, that's awesome. And what yesterday was about was investing $1 billion each in mining projects, the U.S. and Australia. That's great. That's what we need more of right now. Getting rid of the Chinese, cutting them off economically as much as we can, whether it's on manufacturing, whether it's on like run-of-the-mill kids' toys, or it's rare earth minerals. All the above. Getting away from China is a good thing. And that's what yesterday was about. And it happened on the same day. Condi Rice is admitting to Guy Benson here on KCMO that, oh, yeah, that relationship with China, that was kind of a mistake. So thank you for that, Condi. Even if it's, 15 years too late, we'll all take the apology. We all will. Let me give a shout out to listener Safdin. Saifdin. That's his name. Safdin. I don't exactly know how to pronounce it, but I want to give him a shout out because yesterday we had one of the big old VP honchos here in town in Kansas City. And he came down to the radio station, great guy, and he was just here, doing some business for the day. And he goes, hey, I'm down on the plaza, staying down there in the hotels, and I get a lift down to the station, and my Lyft driver is listening to 95.7 FM. And he was an immigrant who does Lyft on the side, and he says that while he is driving people around Kansas City, he puts on this radio station. And he loves the radio station. And I'm like, man, you made me look good, brother. Thank you for doing that. So I don't know the Lyft driver, don't know who he is. All I know is he made me look good in front of the VP. And he made John look good, and he made Mark look good as well.
I'm basking in the afterglow a little bit here.
Yeah.
I'm with you. Thank you.
And the fact that this guy was also obviously an immigrant, came here to the country looking for a better life, working his tail off, driving Lyft on the side. And he goes, oh, yeah, I drive people around all the time and listen to 95.7 FM. And that can go one of two ways, all right? I mean, you could end up with a one-star review. You get some No Kings
Seen
Boomer.
The videos on YouTube.
Exactly. You get a No Kings Boomer in the back seat and you got this show on, you're getting that one-star review. But maybe Safdin just doesn't care. And for that, I respect him. So I loved hearing that story yesterday. I said, I got to give this guy a shout-out. Not only are you bringing this show to your audience in that Lyft car, it's a lot easier to put on a music station. It's a lot safer, I'll just let Madonna play on repeat and, Bon Jovi and things like that. That's a safe play. You put this on, you're driving Lyft, that's a bold move right there. And I respect it. And then the VP likes that as well. So it's all good. 724. It's great to be here on a Tuesday on KCMO Talk Radio. Do you see what's got people melting down this morning? Oh, this is so good. Washington Post. The White House has begun demolishing portions of the East Wing to build Trump's $250 million ballroom, despite earlier claims it wouldn't interfere with the existing White House structure.
Is he taking it with him when he leaves?
Yeah,
or is it the White House ballroom?
It's going down to Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah, right?
Maria Shriver going viral yesterday posting, "This breaks my heart and infuriates me. Hundreds of millions of dollars to build the new ballroom. Good God," writes Maria Shriver. Capital G next time on God there, Maria. So just so you know, this is being funded privately. The president made this clear that the project will cost taxpayers no money. The White House ballroom is being funded privately by many generous patriots, great American companies, and yours truly.
Such a nice man.
The guy is literally putting his own money into the project for this ballroom to replace the East Wing. This is not something that I care about. I've never been in the... Well, did I do a tour of the White House? No. I don't know. I might have done one when I was a kid. I can't remember. But either way, I'm not spending a lot of time in the White House. Okay? It's owned by the American people. Obviously, it'll be occupied by a Democrat again one day and then a Republican, and back and forth we go. This is not the thing to lose a lot of sleep over. It's not. Okay? Many presidents have put their own stamp on the White House. Don't forget, it was back in 2009. Obama upgraded the tennis court into a basketball court. Now, a little different than a $250 million ballroom, but Obama had to get his shots up, okay? Back in 1970, Nixon converted FDR's pool into the press briefing room. And in 73, he added a bowling alley in the basement. Our own Harry Truman here in Missouri. He completely gutted and rebuilt the White House interior, preserving only the exterior walls in 1948. In 33, FDR added a second floor to the West Wing. So you have had presidents who have made changes to the White House going back, more than 100 years at this point. And now Trump says, hey, I'm going to build a ballroom for events along the East Wing, $250 million, privately funded, and you have people losing their minds over it, John.
We act like it's a castle or something that's been passed down.
Yeah.
Here's the deal. The first White House burnt down.
Yes,
not even the original one. So, all this integrity about architectural history.
Just wait till they tweak Mount Rushmore and put Trump on the right side next to Honest Abe. That'll really be a meltdown of all time. No, don't worry. There's nothing to suggest that's going to happen. It's going to be okay, folks. All right? Don't lose your mind. Don't worry. That's not happening. But just wait. Imagine the meltdowns you would see over that. Okay? It's a building. Adding a ballroom that is privately funded, we're all going to be just fine. All right? It's not like he's adding like a big monument to the Trump family.
Trump casino.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, he's not doing that, okay? Brought to you by FanDuel. That's not happening, okay? It's going to be all right. Just a ballroom. Most of us will never be inside of it anyway. And I'm including myself in that. I don't anticipate I'm going to be in the new East Room ballroom anytime soon, if ever. And Mark's not going to get in there with that Seahawks hat on either.
No. I'll only get in if the Chiefs invite me after the Super Bowl win this year.
And you know what? If they do invite you, you can't wear a hat, Mark, okay?
Hey, that's fine.
Take off the hat.
I'll take off the hat.
That's very nice of you. Very nice of you.
I'll wear a red tie.
Oh, gosh, what a guy. What a guy. The Barb Hart story will not go away. I'm not going to let it go away because I think it's a travesty what happened to this teacher in the Blue Valley School District who got fired a little over 1 week ago because, well, she had the audacity to help a special needs child who was having a meltdown in the hallway as a kindergartner and, yes, physically touch the child and move that child into a safe space in their classroom. That's what's been reported. And you've got local television stations who, to their credit, are also staying on the story. And there was one thing I watched yesterday. It was from Channel 41. And they talked to this dad at the school, his name's Michael Hanna, whose 2 children were Barb Hart students in previous years. And he said something yesterday to Channel 41 that I don't know if he has said this anywhere else, but it gave some insight and potential detail to what allegedly happened that, of course, the school board is not saying because they're hiding behind personnel matter. And the administration, of course, just way too cowardly to put their face in front of any cameras right now. They're hiding behind the bureaucracy. But this dad said something, and by the way, his students or his kids were students of Barb Hart's in recent years. And he said something that, to me, gave us little information that we did not previously know.
He was on the ground. She wanted to get him into a safe space and have special needs.
They felt it was unfair.
There was a special needs child who was in a hallway and was having an episode, or was in a loop, as they call it, to where he was on the ground. She wanted to get him into a safe space.
So that's a new wrinkle to the story. The student, a kindergartner with special needs, was in the hallway, as we knew, having an episode, as we knew, and was on the ground. That's a new wrinkle to the story that I don't believe we've heard. Because, of course, we have on school board members, they won't say anything if they'll even talk. Administration won't say a peep. So think about this. Kindergarten kid, 5, maybe 6 years old, in the hallway, overwhelmed, has special needs, having an episode, on the ground. Barb Hart gets called in, as the story goes, to help with the situation because she has 25 years experience at the Blue Valley School District. And yes, she does put her hands on the child to remove the child, to get the child to a safe space where the child can be more comfortable. The parents back the teacher. The parents of the special needs kid have written a letter backing the teacher. And what happens? She gets fired anyway by a 6-1 vote. You have people like Jan Kessinger, who is the Blue Valley School Board president, who, if you look up the word coward in the dictionary, his face appears. He continues to hide behind personnel matter. Blue Valley Schools also just putting out a statement, hiding behind personnel matter. You have somebody who has experience with special needs children, whose parents are supporting the teacher, and a 25-year career gets thrown out the window. And no one is doing anything about it. I am glad that local TV continues to stay on this story. I understand you don't want teachers touching kids. Listen, I totally understand that. And we've been sympathetic to that from day one that this story came down about a week ago. But now we know the student was on the floor having an episode as a kindergartner. Tell me, what are you doing? How do you remove the child who's having an episode? What do you do without putting hands on the kid? Got to go get a crane or something? I can't touch him. Let me go get the crane from the janitor's, closet. What, are you going to push him with a broomstick? A mop? I can't put my hands on him. Like you got 2 teachers with those push brooms, like pushing the kid into the classroom or something. Like, what do you do? At some point, common sense has to win out here. At some point, one of these $250,000 employees has to figure out they screwed this up and have the backbone to just say, we got this wrong. We're reinstating her. She needs to be in the classroom. She deserves to be in the classroom. We just got done talking to James Franco of the Kansas Policy Institute about how scores are down almost 50%, spending's up 50% in Kansas schools over the last 10 years. You got all these highly paid administrators. The only way that great teachers can make more money for their families is by leaving the classroom. The system's completely broken, and all the evidence we have is that Bob Hart was one of the good ones. 25 years still in the classroom, you're one of the good ones. And this is the reward on the back end. Losing her job after a quarter century in Blue Valley schools, helping out special needs kids, and this is what gets her fired. What an absolute shame. And we'll continue to stay on it at 913-408-7957. And I know I see the text line. Some of you suggesting that, who knows, was this a setup? Was it politically motivated? What's her background? Maybe there's some of that going on. I don't know. I can't speak to it. But it is complete and utter BS. And I've also heard multiple things where apparently she doesn't live inside of the school district boundaries. She's been told she's got to rent an apartment or withdraw her children from the Blue Valley School District. That is something else that is just completely out of control. Some of this does feel personal, I'm not going to deny, but I can't put my finger on why. As we get more information, we'll see if that comes out here on KCMO Talk Radio. I just want to put a bow on my thoughts before the top of the hour there. We were talking about the Blue Valley deal, and I just got this from a source in the Blue Valley schools. Exactly what I'm talking about. Barb Hart gets fired helping a special needs child who was flailing on the floor, having an episode. Well, according to a source in the Blue Valley school system, there was an issue just a few days after Barb Hart was fired. A child, I don't know if the child was special needs or not, but it doesn't matter. You've got young kids. Listen, I've got a 7-year-old, soon to be 7-year-old, 4-year-old, and 1-year-old. Okay? It doesn't matter if they're special needs or not. They're little kids. Their brains are not close to fully developed. They have issues. And this child who was having his or her own episode was barricaded in the hallway and left to flounder until the child worked it out. The teachers were afraid to do anything else after Barb Hart got fired last week. That's exactly what I'm talking about. That is the environment that the Blue Valley School Board and the Blue Valley administration has created, where you are sending your elementary-age children to school. And if they have a meltdown, and think about it, they are in this building, in my opinion, far too long every single day. Upwards of 8 hours in some cases. They're 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years old. They're kids. They're in these schools for too long every day. Their brains aren't developed. Things happen. And now, because of the precedent that was set in Blue Valley with the firing of Barb Hart, it could be your child. It could be my child, although I'm not in Blue Valley, but you get the point. It could be any of our kids that has that issue or grandkids, and the teachers just let them flail. And in some cases, when you're talking about 5- and 6-year-olds, they can't even explain what happened to them. But you have now employees who are scared to death to do anything, to help kids because of what happened to her. And that's the environment that Blue Valley has created. And by the way, it will also reverberate around the Kansas City metro. This will also now be something that teachers are going to think about in Olathe, in Shawnee Mission, in Lee Summit, up north, all over the metro, as this story gets more and more attention. And it's the opposite of what we should want our teachers to be doing in those moments. What a shame. Blue Valley still has a chance to right this wrong. I'm not going to hold my breath, but we're also not going to let the story go. Meantime, on the Missouri side of the state line, Department of Social Services saying that it cannot issue November food stamp benefits because of the ongoing federal government shutdown. We are sitting here now on day 21 of the shutdown, wrapping up our third week. And the agency said yesterday that the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Food and Nutrition Service notified states there's not enough federal funding to release November payments. SNAP benefits, of course, are entirely federally funded. So you know and I know what's going to happen here, okay? If we get to November and the government's shut down, we are going to have every local TV station in America running stories about how people are not getting their food stamp payments or benefits. And you're going to have hungry single moms trying to feed their kids, talking to media about how my kid can't get any food. I can't feed my kid because the food stamps aren't coming in. And you would think, well, that should make people come to the table and end the shutdown, right? I mean, absolutely it should. What it should cause Democrats to do, who claim they're the party of the little guy, is go out there and say, this is absurd. We've got to end this shutdown. We've got to just approve the continuing resolution and then fight for our Obamacare subsidies during the appropriations process, which is what they should have done all along. The answer here is not for Republicans to cave. But I saw Josh Hawley put this up last night on social media. Quote, since the Democrats refuse to fund the government, I'm introducing legislation to reinstate SNAP benefits immediately, even during the government shutdown. Missourians should not go hungry because of the left's incompetence. Our kids deserve to eat. Yeah, but what Josh Hawley has wrong here is that if you do that, what you're then allowing to happen is you're allowing the Democrats to continue to get by on their bogus shutdown. If you take basically a brick out of the wall, or in your case, on the Republican side of the aisle, if you take away one of your bargaining chips, which is you guys are getting a lot of blame for the shutdown. There's nothing for us to negotiate right now. Your shutdown is causing kids to go hungry. Trump's approval rating is up since the shutdown occurred, up 1 point per CNN polling. They announced that yesterday. When the shutdown happened in 2018, during Trump's first term, his approval went down 3 points. Trump's approval is up 1 point over the last 3 weeks. So Democrats politically are getting hit harder here because this is something that Republicans have done for them, which is a continuing resolution. And they expected this to go the other way as well. And now they're shutting down the government over it. So if Josh Hawley introduces legislation to basically reintroduce food stamps, well, that doesn't encourage the government shutdown to end. It just takes that issue off the table. And that right now doesn't make a lot of sense to me. You know, you did it with paying the military this past week. I understand that. That makes a lot of sense because you were 2 weeks in. I think in large part you were trying to figure that there would be good faith going on, especially after the No Kings protest. There was a belief that after the No Kings protests happened over the weekend, Chuck Schumer and Democratic leaders would come to the table and say, okay, let's end this thing. I'm not sure that's going to happen right now, but we'll see how the week plays out. But if you get to November, at that point, you're 4 weeks into a government shutdown, and then you start to peel off things like food stamps and say, well, we'll fund this and we're going to fund that, then it's never going to end. I mean, where do you stop then? You allow some people not to get paid, but others to get their food stamps? I mean, if you're a run-of-the-mill government worker, right, and you don't require food stamps, but you're getting furloughed or you're not getting paid, well, all of a sudden it's like, wait, so the food stamp folks get their money, but what about me? I mean, I work for the government. I show up every day. I do my job, and I may not be getting paid. What's that all about? I think the military is an exception in part because of how early in the shutdown payments needed to be made. Like less than 2 weeks in, they had to pay the military. I get that. But then we're going to go through this thing a month in and start picking winners and losers? I know that Josh Hawley obviously has this lane he's trying to carve out, which is like Bernie Sanders-esque mixed with Christian conservatism. I don't know if that lane is nearly as big as he thinks it is, but, you know, it's his prerogative to see if he can do it and pull it off and maybe run for president coming up here in a couple of years, which I think is more likely than not at this point. But that's not something that leadership should go along with. That is giving the Democrats an out here if they start peeling off food stamp payments and then say, okay, we'll approve that because that makes us look good. Now get to the table, end this stupid thing, and get back to work. So I don't like this Josh Hawley idea. And I think it's frankly politically motivated as much as anything else for maybe his own aspirations going forward. And it may be dead on arrival. I mean, I don't know if the bill's going to get anywhere. It may not have a chance. It may have just been kind of social media bluster. But either way, it would not look good for his own political party to go down that road. 913-408-7957, the text line and the studio line on KCMO. So starving kids is a political win for you, Pete. Nice. Oh, gosh. My head hurts. So then you say, and this is what I would say to that texter, so what about the person who works for the government, who doesn't have a lot of savings, who can't just randomly, magically access food stamps? What about them? So you're okay with them going hungry? You want to play that game? See what I'm doing here? You can play that game all day. And if you're interested in politicians playing games, then you know what? Be my guest. I want the games to end across the board. That would be a great place to start. Steve is on KCMO. Go ahead, Steve.
Hey, good morning, brother. Listen to your show every day.
Thank you, Steve.
So I'm sitting here listening to this, and Josh Hawley, even though I live on the Kansas side, I mean, I've seen him talk live, and he's a rhino. He's not a true conservative. I do not like the man. I don't know what it is. He just rubs me the wrong way. But in terms of SNAP benefits, and I'm just going to I'll be the elephant in the room. The whole single mommy syndrome this country has, when a majority of them are self-inflicted by, and you said this the other day, frivolous lawsuits related to that school deal and the child with special needs. Most single mothers in this country are self-inflicted. It's not necessity. And then you turn over to the shutdown. I'm glad they paid the military. My neighbor's a retired Marine vet, and right now he's getting paid. But one of my people that work for me under the table, because that is the best way to hire people these days. He just finally got his disability, and his family members, some do have SNAP and what have you. But I think right now there are a plethora of job opportunities. Plethora. I mean, the intermodal facility in Edgerton, Kansas, nonstop hiring. Amazon, UPS, FedEx, Kubota, all of them. Walmart, for God's sake. Even if the job doesn't pay what you want, go get a second one. I grew up in the 80s. Both my parents had second jobs. Take steps to alternate your pay to get yourself out of generational welfare.
Yeah, I mean, that's the bigger conversation, Steve. You're right about that. Thank you, my man. I appreciate it. But listen, that is the broader conversation that you are obviously spot on about, and you're not going to get an argument from me on that. The short-term conversation, though, is what do you do for those SNAP benefits coming up in November? If there's a portion of people that say now is the time to pick myself up by my bootstraps and just get to work, that's great. I mean, that's outstanding. But you and I both know that that's not the conversation that's going to come out of this coming up in a couple of weeks, right? It's going to be finger-pointing. It's going to be the political nonsense. It's going to be, it's his fault, it's her fault. That's what's going to happen here. The broader conversation, you're absolutely spot on about. The elephant in the room, to me, is not even that big of an elephant anymore because I think people are willing to talk about it. But at the same time, it's like that's not going to change here in the next 2 weeks. It's just not. 913-408-7957. Pete, quit paying Congress. The shutdown will end. Well, out of principle, I agree. I mean, if there's any bill to introduce right now, it's that Congress doesn't get paid during a shutdown. It's a joke they're getting paid and most people aren't. That's just comical. At the same time, most of these people are so wealthy. I mean, if you follow Nancy Pelosi's stock tips, you'll be pretty rich too. Now, you got to have the cash on hand to make the investments, to make the buys that she's making or her husband's making, whatever it might be. But there's a lot of those folks who they don't feel the pinch if they don't get paid. They've got a lot of money set aside. So I'm not sure that actually motivates them, but out of principle, I agree. 8:23, good morning. Happy Tuesday. Glad you're with us on 95.7 FM KCMO Talk Radio. Josh Hawley putting up on social media that he is going to introduce legislation to get food stamp payments made in November if the government is still shut down. Bill in Raytown. Go ahead, Bill.
Hey, Pete. Got lots of good subjects this morning. But the one I'd like to comment on is what we're talking about with Josh Hawley wanting to reinstate the food stamps. I agree with you on what you say. I've noticed these kind of some wild videos coming up on YouTube where people are talking about losing their benefits and they're really mad and they're going to steal and they're going to, maybe this is a plan that the Democrats have to just let things get really out of control and say, hey, this is the Republicans that did this. They caused this. They won't feed people. And
yeah. Oh, yeah. You're absolutely, Bill. You're absolutely right. And they know that they will have, obviously, a sycophantic media that will carry their water. Even though you have seen, to be fair, I have seen examples on some of the Sunday shows, saw some of the clips because my doctor said I shouldn't watch those on Sunday. It's not good for my health. I did see some of the clips from Sunday where, there were some fair questions being asked by Kristen Welker of Meet the Press. We now air that at noon on Sundays here on KCMO. Gives you something different on a Sunday, something a little more timely at 12 p.m., high noon. And I also saw something on ABC this week where there was actually some pushback. And that's good. That's healthy. That's what we want. But if we get into November and food stamps aren't being processed, there's no doubt about it. We know that the blame game is coming. Mike and Shawnee, go ahead, Mike.
Man, I just want everybody to wake up and see this is nothing but theater from both sides. Everything's still working. Leave this shutdown. Josh Harley's just trying to go out there and look good. Hey, look at me. I'm on your side so he can get reelected. He doesn't care about anybody. Let this run out. Your local churches will step up, and they will take care of the people like they're supposed to instead of me feeding somebody in Kansas City, which doesn't affect my life. Let the churches handle it. Let's go back and show people how things used to be when we had small government, when our taxes were null. Our government was run off of tariffs. It wasn't so bloated. We didn't need $2 trillion a year in taxes to keep a bunch of idiots going. And
tell me how you really feel, Mike. Tell me how you really feel.
Look, if you work for the government and you live paycheck to paycheck, you're a national security threat. It means you can be bribed or blackmailed very easily, and I don't want you controlling anything that's going to affect my life.
Thank you, Mike. I think you might be giving most government workers a little too much credit. I don't know if they really have those top-level secrets, but interesting point. I hadn't thought of it that way. So what you're saying then, Mike, is every government employee should be required to go through Financial Peace University with Dave Ramsey. Because if not, they are theoretically a national security threat. Interesting take. We've had some good ones this morning. That may take it. Although, actually, I'd say Bob De Niro takes the cake. Did you hear this yesterday? He was on MSNBC.
He will not. We see it all the time. He will not want to leave. He set it up with his. I guess he's the Goebbels of the cabinet. Stephen Miller. He's a Nazi. Yes, he is, and he's Jewish, and he should be ashamed of himself.
There you go.
Wow.
Bob De Niro.
You talking to me?
Yeah.
Nobody else here. Jiminy.
That's unbelievable. Goes on MSNBC and makes comments like that. Bob has lost it, man.